Hi, hello. I'm your host, Chloe. Welcome to the very first bonus episode here on Let's Talk About Lit. I had so much to say about Catching Fire that I couldn't fit it all into just 2 episodes. So I decided to release an extra episode to bring us over the river, through the woods, and all the way home. Plus, I had already written all of these notes and I didn't really feel like throwing them all away. So, yeah. Without any further ado, let's get to it. I picked the following 5 quotes or scenes because they stuck out to me both when I read the book and when I was reviewing my initial notes. On page 170, Katniss is surprised to learn about the wedding dress design process that she was excluded from. Quote, "Initially, Cinna designed 24 wedding gowns. Since then, there's been the process of narrowing down the designs, creating the dresses, and choosing the accessories. Apparently, in the capital, there were opportunities to vote for your favorites at each stage. This is all culminating with shots of me in the final 6 dresses, which I'm sure took no time at all to insert into the show. Each shot is met with a huge reaction from the crowd, people screaming and cheering for their favorites, booing the ones they don't like. Having voted and probably bet on the winner, people are very invested in my wedding gown. It's bizarre to watch when I think how I never even bothered to try one on before the cameras arrived. Caesar announces that interested parties must cast their final vote by noon on the following day. We know that the dress that was the winner is the dress that she wears in the interviews, as I mentioned earlier. If I had to choose one word to describe this idea, it would be bizarre. Thanks, Katniss. Let's not forget that at this time, Katniss is either 16 or 17. We know that she turned 17 by the Quell, but it's unclear when her birthday is exactly. It has been established to the public that her mother does not support the marital union between Katniss and Peeta, at least not yet. This is continuously brushed off with a laugh. Oh, silly parent trying to protect her daughter from child marriage, as the capital citizens push for the plans to move forward. I guess if you're old enough to participate in gladiatorial games, you're old enough to get married. It's odd to see the capital citizens living vicariously through Katniss. They watched her volunteer, conquer the arena in the name of love, and return home for a future with Peeta. They crave control so badly. No, not just control. They crave clout. They crave connections. They want to say that they knew Katniss and Peeta would win, that they voted for the winning dress, that they even attended the wedding. They want the status that being a victor, that being a star gives. If they want it so badly, why don't they send their own children into the arena? Oh, wait. On page 194, a Capitol attendant brings Katniss some warm milk after a nightmare leaves her wide awake. She finds comfort in the viewing car with Peeta, which is where the attendant delivers her tray. Quote, "And I added a touch of honey to the milk for sweetness, and just a pinch of spice," he adds. He looks at us like he wants to say more, then gives his head a slight shake and backs out of the room. "What's with him?" I say. "I think he feels bad for us," says Peeta. Katniss casts doubt at this. How could someone who is complacent, if not an eager participant of their oppression, feel bad for them? Peeta continues, quote, "I mean it. I don't think the people in the capital are going to be all that happy about our going back in," says Peeta. "Or the other victors. They get attached to their champions." I think that there is actually some serious merit to this. Effie, the stylists, and the prep teams, though arguably affected through personal connection and bias, show moments of great distress about the turn of events. Effie even recognizes some of the victors and can identify them by name, as seen on page 192. While the glory of the games is fleeting and most cannot wait for next year's rush, they become invested in those who win. Those tributes whose journey they are a part of from the moment they are reaped to the moment they are crowned to the celebrated reunion each year. The victors become a constant fixture in the background, like a distant relative or a casual friend. They are showered in gifts and riches and are inducted into the life of luxury. This shared sense of high society allows citizens to feel more comfortable and confident with investing in and supporting victors. They now have something in common. The victors are no longer the subspecies from the districts. They are honored champions with social status. That's why I think PETA is right. The citizens do get attached. In this unprecedented period of time in which victors will be sacrificed, the citizens begin to question their values. They are faced with confronting what they have been conditioned to believe and encourage. They are uncomfortable because victors are the closest thing to capital citizens. They feel that they are losing their own in the arena and they're no longer certain it's right. On page 210, we are treated to the first in-person encounter shared between Katniss and Finnick Odair. After she declines his offer of a sugar cube, they take note of each other's attire. Quote, "You're absolutely terrifying me in that getup. What happened to the pretty little girl dresses?" he asks. He wets his lips just ever so slightly with his tongue. Probably this drives most people crazy, but for some reason, all I can think of is old Cray salivating over some poor, starving young woman. "I outgrew them," I say. Katniss's response was so powerful to me. I can't go into the full importance of this quote until the next episode. I'm a cheater, I know, but I can say this. Katniss's appearance has been pulled into two polar opposite directions since she was crowned victor. Cinna has made a point of making her appear as a young, innocent girl. The goal of this was to convince the Capitol that she is just a naive teenager who acted out of an all-consuming love. Her prep team in particular makes several comments in both the first book and in Catching Fire about how alterations to her body would make her so much more appealing, so much more like a woman. Katniss has been helpless to both of these visions of her until this moment. She takes the power back. She outgrew the dresses not because she has aged, not because she wants to be perceived as sensuous or as a woman, but because she is no longer the girl she was. She is a victor, a survivor, and now a rebel. Frills and pastel colors were never her style anyways. That is a perfect segue into my fourth moment worth mentioning. On page 220, Katniss considers the image of the tributes. Quote, "As I watch the procession to the city circle, I think how it's bad enough that they dress us all up in costumes and parade us through the streets in chariots on a regular year. Kids in costumes are silly, but aging victors, it turns out, are pitiful. A few who are on the younger side, like Johanna and Finnick, or whose bodies haven't fallen into disrepair, like Cedar and Brutus, can still manage to maintain a little dignity. But the majority, who are in the clutches of drink or morphling or illness, look grotesque in their costumes depicting cows and trees and loaves of bread. Last year we chattered away about each contestant, but tonight there's only the occasional comment. Small wonder the crowd goes wild when PETA and I appear, looking so young and strong and beautiful in our brilliant costumes, the very image of what tributes should be." The very image of what tributes should be. The games are taking on a much more literally perverted state than before. Again, I can't go fully into this quote yet because some dark secrets are revealed in Mockingjay that change our understanding of the situation. However, I have to address this. Katniss is implying something twisted, maybe without even realizing it. Child tributes have a youthful glow and energy about them that adults do not have. Is their innocence part of the appeal? part of what makes the games an attractive spectacle. When I say innocence, I mean it in almost every sense. Innocence in regard to love and sex, innocence in regard to violence, innocence in regard to the hardships of their district's industry and blue-collar labor. Obviously, there are some exceptions, such as the careers and the child laborers in District 11. They are, in many ways, untouched by life. Is that what draws viewers in? Watching the tributes lose their innocence? Participating and exposing them to the world? We will revisit this in the next full-length episode. On page 276, Katniss scales a tree to scout out what is happening in the arena below. Quote, "What's going on down there, Katniss? Have they all joined hands, taken a vow of non-violence, tossed the weapons into the sea in defiance of the Capitol?" Finnick asks. "No," I say. "No," Finnick repeats, "because whatever happened in the past is in the past, and no one in this arena was a victor by chance." He eyes Peeta for a moment. Except maybe Peeta. Finnick knows then what Haymitch and I know about Peeta, being truly deep down better than the rest of us. Finnick took out that tribute from 5 without blinking an eye. And how long did I take to turn deadly? I shot to kill when I targeted Inobaria and Gloss and Brutus. Peeta would have at least attempted negotiations first, seen if some wider alliance was possible. But to what end? Finnick's right. I'm right. The people in this arena weren't crowned for their compassion. This sparks an interesting conversation. Is this due to inherent nature or due to circumstance? I think it's a little bit of both. A person's true nature will affect how they interact with others and the choices that they will make, but this is only true to an extent. Survival situations, especially one as brutal as the Hunger Games, can change how a person acts. People do things that they never dreamed of doing when they are starving, dying of dehydration, wounded, or running from mutations or weapon-wielding opponents. I don't think Katniss is being entirely fair to herself or to the other victors. Sure, they have all probably done things that they regret, things that keep them up at night. But they did not do these things out of choice. They were faced with an impossible decision. Do what is necessary to survive, or die. I think the distinction could be between those who relished in such actions and those who resent them. Even then, though, I think they are ruled by circumstance more than their own inherent nature. Take Cato and Clove. They were careers, eager to find their next kill. But they didn't go around District 2 killing people. They did not act violently at home, except in training for the games. It was not until they were placed in the arena that they became the monsters we know them to be. I have a difficult time blaming or judging any of them. They are all, or were all, just kids. And now in the Quell, they are being forced back onto the board. They did the impossible. They beat the odds to win the first time. They have built lives, some even families, and now they must abandon them to be a piece in a much larger game. There you have it. 5 memorable moments from Suzanne Collins Catching Fire. Join me next time for episodes 7A and 7B, Mockingjay. Let's talk about lit. Thanks for listening. P.S. The force field inconsistency is like a small wrinkle in an otherwise smooth blouse. Just hear me out, okay? Regardless, it bugs the ever-lovin' heck out of me. In The Hunger Games, the book, the deceased tributes are shown on a screen that is suspended from a hovercraft. Check page 156. In Catching Fire, though, the deceased tributes are, quote, projected into the sky. Page 291. By this point, we know that there is a force field surrounding the arena, which is confirmed when Peeta walks into it on page 278. Why does this difference exist? At first, it made me think that in the first book, there was not a force field surrounding the arena. Katniss is able to walk for miles on end without reaching the edge, and no other force field technology is mentioned except for the force field on top of the training center roof. The absence of a force field would explain why a hovercraft comes in with a screen suspended below it, because there is nothing else to project images or video on. This can't be true, though, because in Catching Fire, it is revealed that Haymitch won his games, the second quarter quell, so the 50th games, by using the force field at the edge of the arena. Page 202. By this logic, the arena in the 74th games had to have a force field around it as well. But if this was a technology that was available and used for almost 25 years, why wasn't it mentioned in the first book? Why would a hovercraft come in with a screen if they could just project the image onto the force field wall like they do in Catching Fire? I don't know, but I need answers. Okay, you can take your foil hat off now. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.